A nervous splendor, the writer Frederick Morton called it, Vienna at the turn of the 19th century, the twilight of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. No one captured that moment of opulent decadence the way Gustav Klimt did. The most celebrated portrait painter of his day, obsessed with women, with pale beauties in extravagant gowns, or nothing at all. In 2006, the cosmetics heir Ronald Lauder paid a reported $135 million for this portrait of Viennese socialite Adele Bloch-Bauer, one of the highest prices ever for a single painting. It is the centerpiece of a new show at New York's Neue Galerie, which includes a reconstruction of the anteroom of Klimt's studio, where he both painted and seduced many of his models. René Price is the director of the museum and curator of the exhibition. What might be regarded as the very essence of human nature is captured in his work. I mean, love, lust.
It's extremely sensuous.
Every emotion we can think of.
Yes, and the themes of life and death are really, you can see this in his work, are very much there.
Klimt was born in 1862 in the outskirts of Vienna. His circumstances were humble, his talent prodigious. In 1876, at only 14, he was accepted by Vienna's School of Applied Art. In these drawings, he's 17 years old when he...
Yes, these are student works, yes. And you can really see how talented he was already then. I mean, they are masterfully drawn. They almost look like photographs.
After graduation, he decorated theaters and painted murals. It was commercial art on the grandest scale. But in 1892, he gave it up and with others began a revolution, the Vienna Secession. What exactly were these artists seceding from?
I would say it's the old order. It was really represented by the Künstlerhaus, which was an artist organization where they could exhibit. And it turned out that most of the paintings that were exhibited there were very commercial, very much stuck in a 19th century mode, and finally these artists rebelled.
It was 1897. Klimt was 35 and a huge success in Vienna, a city in the last years of its golden age. A remarkable time in art, science, and politics. Sigmund Freud was practicing psychoanalysis. Leon Trotsky and Joseph Stalin were there plotting. Gustav Mahler was conducting the city's orchestra. And young artists were intent on capturing the zeitgeist, the spirit of the age.
Looking for a new direction, a modernity, looking for a truth in art, and rejecting the traditional and moving on to something to the new.
It began with this. Klimt's 100-foot-long homage to Beethoven. A monumental work covering 3 walls. It is reborn in New York with his original sketches of man's struggle to attain happiness, ending with paradise and a visual representation of the Ode to Joy. A living work of art, René Price calls it, that was celebrated by some, condemned by others. But it was Klimt's faculty paintings for the Great Hall of the University of Vienna that created an outrage.
This was a huge public commission that became the biggest art scandal in Vienna.
Was it the content?
It was the content. Klimt was assigned 3 of the faculties: law, philosophy, and medicine. And he produced sketches, and they were approved. And ultimately, 87 professors signed a petition.
Klimt withdrew from the project in 1905 and returned his advance, roughly $200,000 in today's money. It was his last public commission. He broke with the secession and retreated to his studio, painting portraits for a different clientele, women. Klimt never married, but is said to have fathered more than a dozen children.
Klimt loved women, and he must have been extremely charming. He was a womanizer. And then, of course, we have this cliché of what happens in an artist's studio. As you know, Klimt...
Other than painting, you mean?
Yes, he did have nude models there and who were available at his beck and call, so to speak.
And there were the wealthy models like Adele Bloch-Bauer, a Viennese patron and socialite. Klimt produced over 100 sketches of her in numerous sittings that culminated in this portrait completed in 1907. She is the star of the show and the centerpiece of the collection. After a 6-year restitution battle, the Austrian government returned the painting to the remnants of the family in 2006. It is now owned by the museum.
It's really the quintessence of Klimt's golden style. And you have this very refined woman looking out, and you have this interplay between the softness of her flesh and then all the ornament. And it's, of course, the gold, and you can see her initials embedded throughout as a sort of semi-secret symbol.
But it is his drawings that are the most revealing, literally.
In this gallery, we really get a sense of his obsession, or his love for the female form.
Yes.
Many of which we can't show, but
they're beautiful, sinuous, erotic drawings.
And very romantic, and each of them in a certain way, yes?
Yes. And they're all very Klimt-like in their features. They're slender and elegant creatures.
Who happen to have no clothes on.
Just an accident.
Klimt produced hundreds of sketches of women not meant for the public, young, old, pregnant, dressed and naked, alone, asleep. It is a private glimpse of a master at work.
What's interesting about so many of the drawings, whether they're gorgeous young women or very important patrons, dare I say it, old hags, there is a real affection in those drawings for the subject, correct?
Yes,
Am I
yes.
correct
No,
in
and I think
perceiving
he
that?
conveyed that very well.
In 1908, Klimt exhibited his portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer, but by 1910, his gilded age was over. He continued to paint, but in seclusion.
Essentially, the last part of the show is this baby.
Yes.
Why?
Well, it's a symbol of renewal, and I actually paired it with the portrait of Charlotte Pulitzer. I love to pair this as a sort of, like for Klimt, he was always reminded of mortality and of renewal.
The year he died, 1918, mortality seemed the rule, with little hope of renewal. 15 million died in the slaughter of World War I, and Klimt's beloved empire died with it. But his art and the humanity it embodies lives on. It is really one man's immortality, and for the rest of us, a constant renewal.